Warning, the blasters you're about to see are close to real size and could easily be mistaken for a real firearm in Australia. Do not take them into public as it may not be obvious to everyone that it is a toy. Also, all footage shot for this video was done with safety precautions taken. Always wear adequate eye protection and clothing before using gel blasters. Stay safe everyone. G'day boys and girls. So you may have seen some of my previous videos or photos even leading up to this point, and you might have noticed what I've been getting involved in recently, which is gel ball blasting, a bit like skirmish or airsoft for those who are aware of what it actually is. Yeah, it's a lot of fun and I highly recommend people give it a try. It's relatively cheap to do and yeah, awesome fun. So leading on from that, I'm gonna get into a bit of a review sort of style, because there's a few guns out there. I do notice a lot of times when people get introduced, they're like, what gun's best to start off with, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to start telling you my thoughts on some of these guns and how they actually perform in the field, and you'll see that I actually try to use them before I tell people either or. So starting off, we have the AK-47 V2. The AK-47 is an icon with its instantly recognizable shape to a legendary record for reliability. So much so that it's one of the most mass-produced weapons ever in our history. So today, we're going to see how the STD AK-47 V2 gel ball blaster stacks up to this titanic benchmark. Now, as with most gel ball blasters, the body is made almost entirely from plastic, the only exceptions being the buttstock itself, which is actually rubber, a nice little addition for a bit of comfort, and that's realistically it, other than the barrel itself, which you can't quite see in there, is actually alloy. Once again, a nice little addition as part of the standard gun. Even though it is made of plastic, it is quite firm and solid, making it a good little blaster for running around with. However, if you do grip it or put a little bit of force in it, you can hear some creaking, so I wouldn't go using it to break your fall if you were to trip over. Otherwise, you might run the risk of actually snapping it itself. So, starting with the barrel of the weapon, as you can see, it doesn't actually have a muzzle brake on it from factory. There might be one in the box, but we didn't get one when we received this one. Moving further along, you do have a top rail up here above where the actual gas block line goes, and then you have the front hand grip. Now inside this hand grip, you do actually have the battery compartment located just here. Now in order to open that, you simply push this little lever down, lift it up and out, and there it is. So you got your little standard black connection plug there for your battery. You simply grab the battery itself. Now the ones that come standard is an 11.1 volt battery, which is an upgrade for most guns, but the battery itself is actually quite small, as you can see just there. So don't expect it to hold as much charge as some of the larger batteries out there. Simply connect it in, stick it in that hole like so, giggity, close it, and there you go, you're ready to go. Not only that, but the hand grip itself actually has a small Picatinny rail, as you can see just there. Now this is good for little flashlights or something. I'm not sure if some of your foregrips will actually have enough rail there to bite onto, but if you do know, let me know. I've never actually tried. So next, moving further along to the receiver. Now the top end of the receiver itself, you can see here you do have quite a long Picatinny rail, only broken up by this iron sight here. I'll get to that in a sec. The rail itself is not quite a monolithic rail, at least not a full monolithic rail, because it does actually break by the sides, but not only does it break, it also drops down about 1 centimeter. So it's actually, this rail here is slightly lower than this rail here. It's only a minor difference, but something to consider. As for the iron sight itself, now you don't get any back and front iron sights, you only get this one. Again, if there was a connection that's meant to be at the front to assist with that, then that's great, but we didn't see one. So the sight itself is one that you can adjust for distance and elevation, or distance. And you simply adjust it by pushing in on the two little tabs on the side that you can see just there, and then you push it up and accordingly. Now, in a gel ball blaster, this is fairly useless because most of them, their max range is about 30 to 40 odd meters anyway, and that's pushing it. You're unlikely to even hit a target at that sort of range. So it's just a nice little addition, doesn't really serve a purpose. The only exception is if you are aiming down the sights, you can use it to line up above the rail and you can get a fairly accurate shot of where you're looking. Not only that, but moving further down the rail, body itself. Now what you will notice is on the right hand side is where all the controls are. The left hand side is completely empty, there's nothing there. Except for a sling attachment point that you can see just there. It is there. With the second sling attachment point on the same side, being the left hand side of the body, up by the barrel itself there. Also on the receiver, you have the charging handle. Now, this is an automatically fed magazine, which means that when you pull this handle, it will actually start driving the motor in the magazine itself. So I'll show you that in a minute. Moving further on, now in the real world rifle, this is your fire selector, from safe to semi to full auto. Now on this rifle, it's a little bit different on the blaster. This right here is your on-off switch or your safety. If it's down, it's off. If it's on, it's live. If you're fully all the way up on the fire selector, single shot. If you go all the way down, fully automatic. Pretty simple. Again, gel ball blasters, not too many situations where you'll rely on a single semi-auto shot, but it's there if you want it. We'll go down to the pistol grip. Now, as you can see right here, there is something very unique about this rifle's pistol grip. Now, if you look at the pistol grip itself, you'll see that this blaster, unlike most, has something very unique, and that's this molding here for the fingers. Now, this has got to be the only gel ball blaster I've seen with this sort of molding. Now, it may only be plastic, but it is actually quite comfortable and makes the rifle itself easy to grip and control. And even for someone like me, missing part of one finger, it's still fairly comfortable overall, because you even have a molded section at the back for the rest of your thumb to sit. A nice little inclusion, definitely. Moving further along, you have the buttstock. Now the stock itself is much more like an AK-15 style buttstock as opposed to an AK-47 style, and it is adjustable. So the top pad here is textured for your cheek rest, and like I mentioned before, you do have the rubber back section. If you want to adjust it, simply push down that clip there and move it according to how you would like. Simple as that. Good. The buttstock itself can come off. There is a little clip just here on this side. If you push that down, and it is quite tight, so it requires a little bit of work and wiggling, that comes off. Something you'll notice, this stock has most of the weight of the blaster in it. So when you take that off, it's actually quite light. Not only that, but it's quite easy to maneuver around, so it makes it a good little, say, close quarters weapon if you were looking to do that sort of style. None of that, if you're going to be running a lot, this may actually be better off for you. Almost looks like a shotgun. There you go. So, moving further on, I'll get on to the magazine. Magazine here, entirely plastic. Again, it is automatic, so you'll see your contacts just there along with the gel ball feeder up the top there, that black circle. Not only that, you also have on the back here a little black button. Now that button actually disengages the catch in there, so that at the end of the game you push it in, you tip it up, you can empty out any gels that are still stuck in the feed tube. Now, being an automatic, it gets supplied power from within the mag well, just here, which drives the motor when you pull the charging handle. Not only that, but in order to feed into the magazine, there is a little door just here. Push the tab down, open it up like so, and there you go. Plenty of space to feed your gels. Now I've preloaded this for an example. So to actually install the magazine itself, just like on the real AK, you clip the front end like so, push it in, and then simply pivot down. You'll hear that click and it won't move. The magazine itself when in does have a little bit of wobble and shake, but it's not too bad. It's easy enough to deal with. Disengage the magazine, this little clip just here, mag release, right there, just behind the mag, so you can actually grab it in one hand, flip it, pull the magazine forward, the whole thing comes out. Very simple, especially in the heat of the moment, as you can imagine. Now back to the charging handle, like I said, when it's turned on, if you pull the charging handle itself back, it feeds up some gels into the feed tube, meaning this weapon is now right to fire. So the blaster itself has some good ergonomic qualities, such as the aforementioned pistol grip, the hand grip, and the stock itself. So if you remove the stock, like I said, it is easy to rapidly maneuver around, making it a good CQB weapon. It does have some weight to it, although it's mostly in the stock, like mentioned, and it's a good weight, it's not too heavy. So if you're running around for longer games, it's not going to get so heavy that it's tiring. you can just attach a sling if that's what you're really worried about. But for the most part, most people probably wouldn't bother. So moving on from that, let's chrono.
So for this chrono test, I'm using a mixture of hardened milkies and also hardened oranges.
Something you may notice, or maybe not, it's kind of hard to tell, but the trigger itself has quite a long pull until it actually fires. Not only that, but the reset's not quite very quick. So I'll show you what I'm referring to just now. So you watch my finger. It takes a while to actually engage the power itself. So we seem to be averaging anywhere between 220 to 240 FPS, which is not bad for a standard gun, especially keeping in mind that this gun does have an alloy barrel. It does have an 11-volt battery as standard. When you get it, that's what you get. It's still not bad for a standard gun. So all in all, it seems to be firing pretty good. So let's see what fire rate we can get registering through it. So about 17 rounds per second. I might give it another shot just to be sure. Okay, it seems a bit inconsistent. So first round was about 17 rounds per second, then we got about 10, and now we're getting about 50 rounds per second. I don't think it's quite 50. So I'm thinking the 17 to 20 is probably more accurate as to the actual fire rate. I'd say the feed is just having issues here and there. One thing to note though is the feet per second is actually going up as you fire, and you might be able to hear it as it goes full auto. You can hear it sort of winding up. So it's almost like it's not getting at its full strength until it's, the trigger's held down for the first couple of shots. So might do it one more time and see if you can spot the wind up of the motor. Now it is relatively quick, so it's not too bad, but it is something to keep in mind. I'd say that round per second is far more accurate. 26, that sounds about right for the amount of noise that you can hear as it's firing. So now that it's chronoed, let's see if we can see what the range and accuracy of this rifle actually can be.
Now these shots were taken from approximately 7 meters away. Now I have just slowed this footage down and focused in on the target so I can show you something. At about 7 meters away, as you can see, the gels are hitting all over the shot. Now that's not a small target when you look at it. The gun fires good and solid, but it really does need a hop up because that accuracy is terrible. Ultimately, the AK-47 V2 is quite a solid blaster and fairly powerful for a standard gun. Has got some nice features and unseen in a lot of other gel blasters, and all in all it's a fairly well-rounded package. It is a gun that I would recommend to someone who's just starting out as it is fairly solid. However, I would highly recommend getting a hop up for it just to get over that damn accuracy issues, and also probably grab 1 or 2 spare magazines, so that way you can last for a few games without having to constantly refill. Other than that, that's been my thoughts. If you have any comments or anything, just leave them in the comment section below. Feel free to give the video a like, share, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. If you want to see me do anything specific, let me know and I'll do what I can to try and get it done and get a bit of a better setup. I was hoping to show you a bit of footage with the gun, but unfortunately I made a new mistake and set the camera on the set my head cam GoPro to the wrong setting, so the footage is pretty much useless. So yeah, other than that, hope you have a good one. I'll catch us next time.